It's 3:14 on a Tuesday morning. The rest of the world is wrapped in silence. Mark sits alone at his desk, staring into the bright, unblinking void of his monitor. He isn't working. He isn't studying. He is simply scrolling, jumping from one glowing window to the next, consuming an endless stream of opinions, conflicts, news, and lives he will never touch. His eyes burn. His shoulders are tight. He feels a heavy, hollow exhaustion creeping into his chest. And yet, despite knowing he has to wake up in 3 hours, he cannot look away. Without realizing it, Mark is doing what millions of people do every single night. He is locking himself inside a cage. Not a cage of iron bars, heavy locks, and physical walls. A cage of pure information. In 1968, an American ethologist and behavioral scientist named John B. Calhoun built an artificial paradise for mice known as Universe 25. It was designed as the ultimate rodent utopia. Absolute physical security, limitless food, crystal clear water, and sprawling, comfortable nesting space capable of housing thousands. There were no predators, no harsh winters, no sudden storms, no disease. For the first few generations within the warm, predictable hum of this artificial paradise, life flourished. The inhabitants lived long, safe, unburdened lives. The population exploded. Every box was full. Every resource was abundant. But as the population multiplied inside that fixed, unchanging space, something terrifying and unforeseen began to take root. The physical environment remained completely pristine, just as bountiful, secure, and clean as it had been on day one. Nothing was introduced and nothing was taken away. Yet, within 4 short years, the entire colony collapsed. The inhabitants didn't succumb to disease, starvation, or external attack. They tore themselves apart from the inside out, descending into a bizarre spiral of senseless violence, social alienation, and total reproductive failure until every single mouse was dead. History has recorded Universe 25 as a chilling biological anomaly, a tragedy of caged rodents governed by forces they could neither understand nor escape. For decades, we looked at the experiment with a sense of comfortable distance, convinced that humans were far too complex to ever fall prey to the architecture of a cage. But as we sit alone in the quiet dark of our modern rooms, surrounded by the infinite, frictionless abundance of the digital age, a haunting question begins to form. What if Calhoun wasn't studying mice at all? What if he was drawing the exact blueprint of our future? Today, we are going to explore how modern humanity built its own Universe 25. Not by packing our physical cities, but by packing our minds with the entire world's noise. And by the end of this video, you will see your daily digital habits, your loneliness, and your exhaustion in a completely different light. To understand why a utopia breeds its own destruction, we have to look closely at what happened inside Calhoun's enclosure as the population swelled. In the natural world, creatures rely on friction to define their existence. Hierarchies are established through real effort. Boundaries are carved out through struggle. Failure carries consequences that force adaptation, growth, or migration. If an animal loses a fight or finds itself overcrowded in a territory, it moves on. It finds a new horizon. But inside Universe 25, the walls were fixed and the abundance was absolute. As thousands of mice were packed into a permanent, inescapable proximity, markers of identity dissolved. Without the necessity of struggle, the point of social roles evaporated. With nowhere to retreat when a conflict went wrong, the inhabitants fractured into 2 psychological extremes. On one side stood the hyper-aggressive, males who lashed out in random, meaningless violence, stripping aggression of its evolutionary purpose. They fought because the instinct for friction remained, but the reasons and functions had vanished. On the other side stood a class Calhoun called the beautiful ones, isolated, apathetic males who retreated entirely from society. They refused to engage, connect, or fight. They spent their entire existence trapped in sterile self-obsession, endlessly grooming their fur, eating, and sleeping. It is easy to view this through a clinical, historical lens. We nod at the data and feel safe behind our human screen. But we must confront the mirror it holds up to 21st century civilization. Because we have engineered our own modern Universe 25, not by packing physical streets, but by packing our minds with the unyielding noise of the entire global collective. Through the internet and digital culture, we live in a state of hyper-connected proximity to billions of people we will never meet. The human brain, evolved for tribes of 150 individuals, is now forced to process the daily tragedies and outrage of the entire planet. Think about what your ancestors experienced in a lifetime. They knew their neighbors, the local weather, and the immediate struggles of their community. Today, before you even finish your morning coffee, your mind has processed a geopolitical crisis, 3 economic disasters, and the curated success of 20 strangers. We no longer compare ourselves to the neighbor down the street. We measure our quiet lives against an algorithmic composite of the top 1% of human achievement. The consequence of this unprecedented abundance is a deep psychological paradox. We are drowning in an ocean of simulated connection while suffering from isolation. We mistake the digital register of social activity for actual meaning. We feel the phantom rush of a community that isn't really there. As Neil Postman warned, everything in our background has prepared us to resist a prison when the gates close. But what if there are no cries of anguish to be heard? When society itself becomes an echo chamber of hyperstimulation, blindly conforming to its demands is no longer a path to health. It is a symptom of the disease. We see the symptoms all around us. Rising political extremism, radicalization, and a numbness to constant outrage, the human equivalent of Calhoun's hyper-aggressive males. On the other hand, a wave of burnout. Younger generations retreating into solitary digital comfort zones, our modern version of the beautiful ones. Philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti asked, "Is society healthy that an individual should return to it? Has not society itself helped to make the individual unhealthy?" To break free from this conceptual cage, we cannot simply look to the crowd for salvation. The crowd is trapped in the exact same maze. We must rediscover the lost art of radical distance. This is not a call for misanthropy, but a tactical, psychological necessity for survival. In the words of Albert Camus, in order to understand the world, one has to turn away from it on occasion. In order to serve men better, one has to hold them at distance. You do not need to shatter your devices, but you must draw an uncompromising line around your attention. Recognize that the digital world feeds off your distraction and outrage. Every notification is a tiny bar added to your cage. If you do not design the boundaries of your own mental architecture, the algorithm will gladly and ruthlessly design it for you. True clarity lives in the quiet, unmapped spaces you deliberately carve out for yourself when the digital noise finally stops. If this deep dive resonated, take a moment to subscribe to the Inner Compass and join our community of thinkers. And before you leave, what is one boundary you've set to protect your peace? Because sometimes the most profound victories are the ones fought in absolute silence. Until next time, look inward, protect the sanctuary of your own mind, and we will see you in the next video.